Devastating news from the Superman world. Lim Dae-in has finally eliminated all zombies within a 100-kilometer radius, becoming the strongest Superman. But after drinking too much at the guild's victory celebration, he woke up to find himself back in his rental apartment from 20 years ago. So the trillion-dollar fortune he'd accumulated from 20 years of monster fighting was gone. Along with the dozen skyscrapers he'd built in the city center, his millions of female fans and the adopted cat-eared beastkin girls were gone too. But one wristwatch had somehow followed him back from the future. He remembered this was the watch the guildmaster had given him at the victory banquet, a relic from Byron Continent's legendary wizard. Could it be that I traveled back in time through this watch's magic? Could my return be part of some conspiracy? Just then, the landlord's son came to collect rent. Lim Dae-in remembered that in his previous life, the landlord's son constantly stole his cigarettes and money. And today he was reaching for Lim Dae-in's watch again. Lim Dae-in lightly touched his belly, and the spicy noodles the landlord's son had eaten yesterday surged up from his intestines to his throat. Lim Dae-in grabbed his mouth and slammed him against the wall, sending the spicy noodles back down to his stomach. Lim Dae-in then grabbed his face and asked, "Are the spicy noodles hot enough? I wish you smooth digestion." He gave the landlord's son a knee strike. Sure enough, the landlord's son lifted his rear, and the stench of spicy noodles smoothly expelled from his body. Then he happily fell asleep on the floor. Afterward, Lim Dae-in picked up his luggage and walked onto the street. He thought, "I'm the strongest Superman who controlled magic for 20 years. Making some pocket money for a comfortable life in this era shouldn't be difficult." The only downside was this body was too weak to handle his own magical power. Sure enough, this body got hungry at the drop of a hat. Should I go back and rob some meal money from the landlord's son? But just then, a spatial rift suddenly appeared in the street. A crimson-spotted hound burst into the human city. Not far away, 3 beasts had already surrounded a little girl. Lim Dae-in rushed forward, shielded the little girl behind him and said to her, "Little girl, go find your daddy quickly." Then, he faced those wild dogs alone, defeating them with just a few moves. "I'm so hungry. If I remember correctly, their meat is quite delicious. Braised with carrots and potatoes, paired with red wine, absolutely exquisite." The wild dogs became frightened seeing Lim Dae-in's attacks, but they still opened their bloody mouths and charged forward. Lim Dae-in slid down to dodge the attack, using his lower body strength to kick it. Then he quickly leaped up, delivering a downward chop to the wild dog. Next, he used the watch as brass knuckles. After building up power, he punched toward the wild dog. What a surprise, this watch is incredibly hard. Just then, police sirens sounded. Lim Dae-in recognized this as the siren of the police special operations unit that dealt with monsters in the early days. At the same time, a police officer came to question Lim Dae-in. Lim Dae-in told him his name, since he had just awakened a few hours ago and hadn't registered with any Superman organization yet. The officer said since that was the case, they'd ask Mr. Lim to assist the police in dealing with the monsters first, then the police would help him with Superman registration. But Lim Dae-in turned and walked away saying, "I trust the police can handle these monsters, good luck." Meanwhile, all the Superman guilds received the news a newly awakened Superman had appeared, approximately 20 years old. Lim Dae-in was really hungry, so he ordered his beloved beef soup rice. He knew someone would definitely pay for this meal. Sure enough, his phone started ringing. He thought, these guilds really have incredible networks. He had only left a name and countless guilds had already found his phone number. Just during his meal, he received over 90 text messages and more than 100 missed calls. This was the early period of global transformation, when guilds were slowly rising to replace regular military and police forces. Whenever a new Superman appeared, guilds would compete fiercely to recruit them. After eating his fill, Lim Dae-in began contemplating how to live this life. Finally, he decided to use future knowledge and intelligence to rely on a guild to make money, then after working for exactly 3 years, enjoy a perfect retirement. Just then, a guild representative arrived. "Mr. Lim, I'm Kim Gil-soo, manager of the Royal Guild." "Mr. Lim, don't listen to his nonsense. Their guild doesn't even have a single superwoman. You won't even have anyone to date, Mr. Lim." "Bro, I'm from the Warrior Guild." Many more guilds arrived one after another, and Lim Dae-in's meal bill had long been paid by some guild. Lim Dae-in finally spoke, "Everyone quiet. If anyone says another word, I'll pass on their guild. I'm not full yet. Let's move to a quiet restaurant to talk." Finally, Lim Dae-in got to eat dessert as he wished. Savoring the sweetness on his tongue, he asked, "How much signing bonus can you offer?" "Mr. Lim, contract terms are confidential. How about we talk privately?" "You're from the Royal Guild, right? Don't let the door hit you on the way out." "Yes, Mr. Lim, I represent the super powerful Royal Guild." "What? Yes. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." "What about you guys? How much can you offer?" Someone bid 1 billion. Someone shouted 1.2 billion. 2 billion. We offer 2 billion. "Mr. Lim, no guild will offer more than our White House Guild." Lim Dae-in knew, of course, that White House Guild would become one of the 3 major guilds in Country A in 10 years. So he kept only Baek Yong-hui from White House Guild and said, "If you want to sign me, you must meet my 3 conditions. Work only 4 days a week, not 1 day more. Guarantee on-time departure. Absolutely no overtime. Refuse long-term assignments, no business trips. Baek Young-hui got so angry she couldn't control her facial expression. But Lim Dae-in's gaze was firm and uncompromising. Baek Young-hui angrily stood up, but immediately showed flexibility, smiling broadly. I'll go back to revise the contract and meet you again. Next time, let's not meet at a dessert shop, let's go have a drink. Lim Dae-in thought, I absolutely cannot get too involved with this woman. Others might not know, but I know she's the guild master's daughter. After eating and drinking his fill, Lim Dae-in went to the disaster management headquarters to certify his Superman identity. The staff asked what his trait was. He said he had no trait, just physical enhancement. This period didn't have magic power testing yet, and traits were manifested through magic power, only becoming known when displayed, so he decided to hide his traits. But just the physical strength he demonstrated, easily lifting a half-ton barbell with one hand, stunned the young lady. She had never seen a Superman with such physical strength. When Lim Dae-in finished registration and walked out of the room, he encountered someone he didn't want to see. It was Ju Sang UK from the Superman Cooperation Group, currently the team leader managing Superman registration. Lim Dae-in quickly left. Getting involved with this guy never brought anything good. He would never come here again. But Ju Sang UK turned back. Oh ho, this person seems quite interesting. Later, Lim Dae-in came to the contaminated restricted area. He knew that in 1 year, Earth would have dimensional portals appear, connecting to the fantasy world of swords and magic, Gaia continent. And Country A's only portal would appear in the restricted area. Lim Dae-in was elated. Once I get the signing bonus, I'll buy this land, and just by collecting portal tolls I can become the world's richest man. But suddenly he heard arguing. And even stranger, the voices were speaking in Gaia continent's language. So Lim Dae-in activated his stealth trait and headed toward the sound. In his previous life, he had used this trait for reconnaissance, espionage, and assassination missions. But in this life, he really didn't want to work. Finally, Lim Dae-in saw 3 thugs surrounding a red-haired girl. The girl shouted in Gaia language, "You're forcing me to do this!" Then she summoned a fireball, but she seemed to lack physical energy, and the next moment, the flame instantly extinguished. The lead thug grabbed for the girl. "You little girl can use superpowers too? Although I can't understand what you're saying, you'll definitely sell for a good price." Lim Dae-in recognized the tattoos on their bodies. Those were the symbols of the criminal organization Crimson Snake. These scumbags would do all kinds of evil in the future. Lim Dae-in made his move, quickly defeating all the thugs, while the little girl trembled nearby. "You're from Gaia continent, right? You can speak our language?" The little girl's stomach suddenly started growling. Lim Dae-in seriously asked her, "Do you like eating meat?" To Lim Dae-in's amazement, the little girl devoured the 5-person serving of grilled meat he bought. Regarding why she came to Earth, and how many people had come from Gaia continent to Earth, the little girl knew nothing. Moreover, she could currently use fire, but wasn't skilled at it, didn't understand Earth's language either, and had no survival skills whatsoever. Lim Dae-in said, "Then stay with me for a month, I'll teach you language and how to use your abilities. But you have to work for me. Go. Wash the dishes first." "I'm Lily, thank you for taking care of me." But Lim Dae-in became uneasy. Could she be the monster who would destroy a city in 10 years? The Fire Witch Lily, one of Gaia continent's 6 great disasters, with red hair and fire control abilities? It said the Fire Witch was kidnapped by a criminal organization as a child, harbored hatred, and eventually caused catastrophe. Did I prevent a future disaster? Seeing Lily's torn clothes, Lim Dae-in let her pick out clothes. Lily happily chose a dress. But ultimately, Lim Dae-in bought Lily red sportswear, and bought 2 sets for her to alternate wearing. "Kid, I don't have a house right now, living in ruins, you'll wear this for now." At night, Lim Dae-in brought out his dark cuisine. After monsters started appearing in this world, food became scarce, and markets began selling monster meat. People at this time didn't know these ingredients were nutritious meals containing magic power. But Lily just kept gnawing on fried chicken. Then Lim Dae-in got angry. "I worked hard to make you a nutritious meal, and you dare to be picky. This food might not taste as good as fried chicken, but it can't be that bad, right?" Then he took a spoonful of dark cuisine into his mouth. The next moment, he was nearly moved to death by how terrible his own cooking was. In the end, both of them felt like they'd lost half their lives after finishing the meal. "Kid, be grateful to the person who cooks for you, understand?" But that night, while meditating, Lim Dae-in was pleasantly surprised to discover that because his body was young and he'd eaten the nutritious meal, his internal spiritual sea was growing like it was free. Coincidentally, nutritious meals were cheap in this era. It was like he'd activated a major cheat. The next day, Lim Dae-in called to Lily, "Time to eat, cheat meal." The two nearly died from the terrible taste again. Finally, Baek Young-hui called, but when discussing the contract, she was evasive. But Lim Dae-in directly called her out. "What? Reluctant to sign? Want to test my abilities?" Baek Young-hui nervously explained. But Lim Dae-in said, "I accept the test, but I have an additional condition. If I pass the test, my signing bonus doubles." At White House Guild, Lim Dae-in was greeted by Guild representative Baek Chang-soo. Baek Chang-soo released his aura. "Double violation penalty? Are you really worth that much money?" Lim Dae-in's expression became serious. This person probably didn't know martial arts or magic, but just with magic power alone, he could have such strong pressure. He really was a monster. But I, Lim Dae-in, am no ordinary Superman either. Then, he released his own aura. Let's see if I'm worth that much money. Baek Chang-soo was equally shocked. He immediately said to Baek Young-hui to draft a contract. If you pass the test, your signing bonus triples. Additionally, if you pass all tests, our guild will pay you an extra 20 billion signing bonus. Lim Dae-in's heart was racing. Triple? That's 6 billion plus 20 billion equals 26 billion. Is this White House Guild a bank or something? Baek Chang-soo announced, test rules. Spar with 3 White House Guild members. Winning 2 matches counts as passing. Winning 3 matches gets you the extra 20 billion. The first sparring partner was White House Guild's first team member, Hwan Jang-yuk. When Baek Young-hui asked what weapon Lim Dae-in would choose, he said, I don't need weapons, this watch is enough. Hwan Jang-yuk's lungs nearly exploded with anger. A newly awakened rookie wanting to use a watch against me, how arrogant. Kid, I'll beat you to a pulp. What's wrong with him? Did he get dumped? What insult did he suffer? Why are adults so emotionally unstable? Hwan Jang-yuk charged at Lim Dae-in. But Lim Dae-in had future memories of Hwan Jang-yuk. His trait was acceleration. As long as he kept moving, his speed would get faster and faster, so he needed to win with one strike while he could still track his movements. At this moment, Hwan Jang-yuk had already become a blurred afterimage. Baek Young-hui's expression became serious. Hwan Jang-yuk went all out from the start. Looks like he's serious. If he spins a bit more, our naked eyes won't be able to catch his figure. But Hwan Jang-yuk got impatient, eager to quickly defeat this newly awakened rookie. He felt his current speed was already enough to defeat this arrogant guy in front of him. Lim Dae-in thought, too bad, I wanted to see your ultimate speed. He struck Hwan Jang-yuk's nose bridge with his watch. Sorry, you only get 1 chance to attack. If you were 3 times faster, I really wouldn't be sure I could hit you. First round, Lim Dae-in wins. Baek Chang-soo came over to congratulate and said, thanks for holding back, brother. I estimate Hwan Jang-yuk will wake up after a few days of treatment. Lim Dae-in became serious again. If I hadn't controlled my strength, Hwan Jang-yuk's head would have been knocked off by me. The second round test took place at White House Guild's artificial forest training ground. This time, the opponent was the captain of First Team's 6th squad, tank-type Superman, Young Dae-hun. The test began. Lim Dae-in actually took the initiative to attack. This time his weapon was still that hard watch, but the opponent's shield was equally hard. Young Dae-hun slashed with his sword, cutting off a few strands of Lim Dae-in's hair. His eyes were calm and steady, but Lim Dae-in had somehow moved behind Young Dae-hun, hooking his fingers. Eagle Claw! Young Dae-hun blocked with his shield. His eyes became serious for the first time. Did he learn martial arts before awakening? Iron Mountain Lean. Then Lim Dae-in sent Young Dae-hun flying dozens of meters, but he still managed to stand up. Looking at Young Dae-hun, who stood up again, he thought, damn, this guy's endurance is incredible. Originally I wanted to hide my strength and end this quickly. That cunning Baek Chang-soo seems to want me to reveal all my trump cards. You're not bad, kid. I'll apply for you to join my squad, become my team member. Just based on your word? But Young Dae-hun said this was White House Guild's default rule. When there's disagreement, the winner decides. Baek Chang-soo nodded in agreement. In that case, if I win, let me be the captain. Fine, but if you lose, signing bonus halved, contract duration doubled. Lim Dae-in said no problem. Then he posed a soul-searching question to Young Dae-hun. You like Baek Young-hui, don't you? You think Miss Baek is interested in me, so you want to defeat me in this spar to win back some of her affection, right? Lim Dae-in, of course, knew that in the future, Young Dae-hun would do ridiculous things because of unrequited love, eventually getting kicked out of White House Guild. Also, I suggest you organize your room when you have time. It turned out Young Dae-hun had hung photos of Miss Baek that he'd secretly taken all over his room. Shut your mouth! The 3 observers were confused, not knowing what they were talking about in the arena. Then Young Dae-hun was so ashamed he went berserk. Lim Dae-in thought, he's finally angry. Once he loses his reason, he'll enter bull mode, relying on massive magic power to enhance his physical abilities. Sure enough, Young Dae-hun charged like a mad bull. Lim Dae-in infused his magic power into the wristwatch. He understood that once Young Dae-hun lost his reason, he only had brute force. He didn't know how to use weapons, much less how to use his shield to block attacks. Lim Dae-in punched the lovelorn man. Lightning fist. Second round, still Lim Dae-in's victory. But he was also completely exhausted, squatting on the ground. This body was indeed too weak. Using lightning palm just once nearly drained all his strength. Baek Young-hui came to congratulate him. Representative Baek says you performed excellently, giving you 10 billion as a special reward. First, win the next match. And the 20 billion is yours. Lim Dae-in forced himself to stand up, thinking, in that case, I'll challenge one more match. But Baek Chang-soo's honest. Yet cunning laughter rang out. Good, young man. I'll personally take the field for the next match. Lim Dae-in thought, damn. This old man insists on forcing out all my techniques. I give up the third test. Young man, reconsider? Mr. Lim, just hold out for 5 minutes and I'll give you 20 billion. No, just hold out for 3 minutes and I'll give you 30 billion. Take your hands off me, I refuse. Finally, White House Guild signed Lim Dae-in at the historic high price of 10 billion. And he became the first captain in history to form a team right upon signing. Can I personally recruit team members? Of course. But can you find Supermans who haven't joined any guild yet and have superior abilities? There's one right in front of me. The first team member I want to sign is called Lily. Lily, quickly show sister your fire breathing. No, I'm hungry. How about 3 fried chicken? Then Lily shouted, "Wah! 3 fried chicken!" She unleashed a pillar of fire that nearly burned through the rooftop. Amazing, amazing. So your sister is also a Superman. Lim Dae-in thought, Lily truly deserves to be a future disaster figure. I only taught her for a few days and she can control such a massive fire display. Miss Bake, let's discuss Lily's signing bonus. The minimum can't be less than 3 billion. What are you talking about? Where's the fried chicken? Kid, go play over there first, bro is fighting for your lifetime supply of chicken legs. Finally, Lily signed with White House Guild's 7th squad for 5 billion. From then on, she reached the peak of life, achieving fried chicken freedom. Right after signing, Bake Chang-soo came over. Captain Lim, terribly sorry, there's a major mission. All squads have already arrived at the scene. You think it's appropriate for me to go on a mission on my first day of work? Actually, I also think it's quite regrettable. I especially came wanting to spar with Captain Lim. But the combat control room issued a mission, stop being fake. Where's the mission location? I'll go now. Arriving at the mission site, Lim Dae-in found other Superman squads covered in slime. All collapsing and screaming, "Mommy, I never want to be a Superman again. Just kill me now." There was a smell here mixing stinky tofu, herring cans, and fermented seabird. Uncle, this thing smells even worse than your dark cuisine. The monsters to be cleared today were giant stink snails. They were very weak, but once they felt attacked, they would self-destruct. Then the exploded juice was incredibly foul-smelling, taking 10 years to dissipate. Dying, can't breathe. Uncle, save me. So Lim Dae-in said, try using magic power to block your sense of smell. This kind of precise magic control is very difficult. You're so young, it's hard on you. But the next second, Lily had blocked her sense of smell. Uncle, it really works. I can't smell the stench. Lim Dae-in had a row of black lines on his forehead. This kid really is naturally gifted. I haven't even started teaching. Truly worthy of becoming a disaster-level witch in the future. Lim Dae-in's mission was to bring back stink snail samples to the guild for research. Other guild Supermans at the scene should have received the same mission, but they couldn't catch a single intact snail, only vomiting while scooping up some slime to hand in. But Lim Dae-in moved. He knew dealing with snails required making them die or faint unconsciously. He kicked a tree trunk. A snail on the tree was shaken down. Then Lim Dae-in waved his palm, like doing elderly square dancing. He shouted at the snail, Tai Chi palm. The snail floated and swayed like a falling leaf, then spun 35,000 degrees in place, like a gentle mother taking it to play on a carousel at an amusement park. Finally, the snail peacefully fell asleep, completing its childhood happiness, no longer holding grudges against its original family. Uncle, how did you do that? Teach me. Want to learn? Pay 10 billion first. Uncle, you're not a good person. Others' missions were like bathing in a cesspit. Lim Dae-in's mission was like taking a vacation. He was about to return and submit his results when other Supermans blocked him. The leader was Blackhound Guild's 5th squad captain, Jang Soo-kyun. Lim Dae-in got angry just seeing him. In his previous life, this person had been Lim Dae-in's boss. Lim Dae-in knew his shamelessness. Sure enough, Jang Soo-kyun threatened Lim Dae-in to leave the snail sample behind. Lim Dae-in knew if he didn't give it, he would use the dirty trick of turning the snail sample into liquid. Then, Lim Dae-in actually threw the sample on the ground saying, "Come get it, baby." Then he sat on the bag saying, "As long as you have the ability to take it." He had already thought of over 30 ways to teach the opposition how to be human again. Jang Soo-kyun got angry, releasing his aura and preparing to attack. Lim Dae-in whispered to Lily, "When I give the signal, burn everything around us." At this moment, Lily's eyes flashed with viciousness. How about I burn them all to death? At this time, her eyes no longer held innocence, didn't even seem human. This startled Lim Dae-in. I really raised a huge menace. Then he said no killing would make things complicated. Just burn the surrounding things clean. At this moment, Jang Soo-kyun finally stepped forward, taking the deadly step. Just then, the space-time portal in the sky surged with energy. A huge green thing slowly slid out. After landing, it turned out to be a giant snail bigger than a mountain. No matter how bad Jang Soo-kyun was, he was still a Superman. At this moment, he abandoned his grudge with Lim Dae-in and led his people charging toward the snail. Lim Dae-in picked up the sample, took Lily, and turned to leave, very leisurely. The Supermans in the battlefield were shocked to discover this giant snail couldn't be cut. They were beaten by the snail's tentacles until they cried for their parents. Lim Dae-in put the sample in the car trunk. The radio transmitted Miss Bake's voice. "Captain Lim, you need to go fight. Only after this giant snail dies can you claim ownership of the spoils of war. Don't worry, those guys can't defeat that monster." While others were struggling desperately, Lim Dae-in and Lily were chatting. "What do you want to eat later?" "I want fried chicken. It's really smelly and hard. This monster has no weaknesses." "Lily, have you tried spicy noodles? They're quite tasty too. Aren't spicy noodles only available in the distant east? Why are you retreating? Do you still count as a Superman?" "Nonsense. You're running faster than me." Then let's still have fried chicken later. How about it? Facing the unsolvable snail, the Supermans could only keep retreating. Even their weapons were corroded into scrap metal by the snail's slime. Only one not-so-bright tank Superman charged toward the giant snail. He was Wang Guho from Black Hound Guild. His trait was turning his body to stone. His nickname in the squad was Dumbass. The captain told him to cover others' retreat, but after being caught by tentacles, no one looked back at him. Soon, he was about to be swallowed by the snail. Suddenly, a blade light struck, along with a deafening question, "You actually treat scumbags as comrades?" The tentacles that dozens of Supermans couldn't cut were severed by this blade light. That heroic figure stood in front of Wang Guho, like righteous light shining in his heart from then on. "Wang Guho, that's not how you use your trait. If you want to know how to use it, remember to find me later. Your ability should make you a god among Supermans." He was stunned. The person in front of him was simply the light of life, his life's beacon, a success mentor. Set the fire, Lily. Okay, but was that person really a god among Supermans just now? That was my recruitment pitch. Then, the vacationing duo used fire to block people's sight and walked toward the giant snail. Lim Dae-in came from the future, familiar with all monsters' traits. The giant snail's weakness was temperature. Once the environment got too hot, its movements would become sluggish. Lim Dae-in cut off all its tentacles. Although the giant snail's tentacles could regenerate, they couldn't regenerate in fire. If all tentacles were severed, it would retract into its shell. Lim Dae-in took out a diamond drill. The giant snail's shell was incredibly hard. Only some regularly arranged points could be used for breakthrough. So, Lim Dae-in infused magic power and stabbed hard at these points. Finally, he stopped and thought, acupuncture complete. Then, he gathered his magic power. Now I'll give you a massage. Lightning fist. Instantly, blue magic light traveled through the snail's shell like lightning snakes. In a moment, the shell cracked and the snail's body had peacefully passed away. After doing everything, Lim Dae-in immediately collapsed. My current constitution is still too weak. 2 lightning palms in one day drained all my energy. Lily got scared and quickly kicked Lim Dae-in 50 times. "Uncle, you're not dead, right? Don't scare me. Dead girl, quickly help your uncle up." Then Lim Dae-in cut off the best meat from the snail. This meat is perfect for making magic power nutritious soup. At this time, Lily hadn't realized her uncle was about to develop even more insane dark cuisine. When the flames dispersed, all the squads were stunned. The snail that dozens of Supermans couldn't take down had now become White House Guild's exclusive spoils of war. Wang Guho could no longer speak. Could this man really have come to save me? After the mission ended, Lim Dae-in called Baek Yonghui to discuss squad formation. Because a Superman squad not only needed combat-type Supermans, but also photography teams to record and create promotional videos. This way they could recruit other Supermans, and also needed professional medical teams and equipment support teams. Lim Dae-in delegated all talent recruitment to Baek Yonghui, then said to her, "Put other things aside for now. Go contact Black Hound Guild and poach their Wang Guho." At night, Lim Dae-in again displayed his devastating culinary skills. Fresh snail meat plus the extracted snail inner core. Finally, he made a pot of hellish snail meat soup emitting black smoke. Lily saw the food's appearance and immediately said, "I ate a lot of fried chicken yesterday, not too hungry." But Lim Dae-in ignored her, enduring nausea while eating and saying, "The tender snail meat is plump and juicy. Every inch that touches the tongue can stimulate saliva secretion as the meat juice slowly melts in the mouth." Lily said, "I suddenly feel like I can finish it all." "Good, you said it yourself. Finish it all." Lily, who had just taken one bite, nearly died from nausea, as if she'd eaten a stinky shoe sole. She said, "Uncle, next time just kill me directly rather than making me eat." But Lim Dae-in said, "Don't be in a hurry to die. Guess what? Uncle is taking you treasure hunting now." It turned out that countless monsters had already established territories in the contaminated zone. Among them was a type of monster called Uruk. Their tribal stone statues hid treasures from other dimensions, and Lim Dae-in had quietly brought Lily to the outskirts of the Uruk tribe. He gave Lily her orders: "Start the fire as soon as you see my signal, got it?" Then he activated his stealth ability and infiltrated the enemy camp. Little Lily, also cloaked in his stealth ability, crouched on a treetop waiting for the signal. Lim Dae-in's target was a treasure hidden within the Uruk tribe's stone statues, but unfortunately, he ran straight into the Uruk chieftain. He remembered from his past life that when they fought the Uruk tribe, 5 Supermans were killed by this chieftain. This monster was incredibly powerful. He dodged the chieftain and grabbed a stone, then threw it at a nearby torch. Lily immediately understood this was the signal, and she activated her ability, setting fires throughout the Uruk settlement. Though the Uruk chieftain couldn't see Lim Dae-in, he somehow pointed in his general direction. Countless Uruks began diving toward this area. What shocked Lim Dae-in even more was that the chieftain had actually sensed his location and was swinging his blade at him. Knowing he was no match, Lim Dae-in immediately fled. Then he looked up and shouted to Lily, "I've been discovered, retreat now!" After running far away, Lim Dae-in felt frustrated. Having traveled back from the future but without his former strength, he had intel on all the treasure locations, yet couldn't even steal the simplest treasure. But Lily said, "I know this place." She explained that she had originally teleported to Earth through this very cave entrance. which was why she had been chased and cornered by those bad men inside the cave. Lim Daein knew about the bad men Lily mentioned. They were the future criminal organization Crimson Snake, and he never expected they'd have a base right next to the monster uruks. Lim Daein was delighted. He asked Lily, "Do you know the saying, when the snipe and clam fight, the fisherman benefits? You hide by the cave entrance, and if there's trouble inside, I'll signal you with the walkie-talkie. Understand?" Lim Daein activated his stealth and entered the cave, only to discover it was much more than it appeared. A group of people in lab coats were producing something. Suddenly, he noticed one of them pick up a bag of white powder. Lim Daein was alarmed. Could this be the illegal drug serpent? Serpent was a drug made from otherworldly plants, more addictive than any substance on Earth, and countless people had already died or become living corpses because of it. No wonder the police investigation had been fruitless for years. The production base was hidden in a place like this. Ordinary human police officers would probably be torn to shreds by alien beasts if they entered this area. Perfect. Then I'll be the one to punish this evil. With a loud snap, the entire cave's power was cut off, plunging everything into darkness. And when people turned on their flashlights, they discovered that all the stored serpent had vanished. When Lim Daein emerged from the cave, he said to Lily, "Come on, get in the box and get to work. Uncle's going to play hide and seek with you." At this moment, armed personnel finally spotted the intruder. But Lim Daein turned back with a charming smile. "Baby, come and catch me!" Then he weaved through the hail of bullets. Finally, he stopped in his tracks. Facing him were Uruk tribesmen searching for Lim Daein. "So you've come too, my darlings," the Uruk chieftain roared. "I'm gonna kill you, you bastard who burned down my tribe." Lim Daein shouted back, "Don't get so worked up, baby. I've got a little gift for you." With that, he threw the serpent at him. The Crimson Snake captain was so furious his lungs nearly exploded. He cursed, "You're such a damn dog." But his priority was still to retrieve the serpent. And so, a war between modern weapons and brute force began. Neither side really knew why they had to fight, but they still fought fiercely, with frustration and rage. In the end, the Uruk leader was severely wounded but proved more skilled. He howled triumphantly at the sky to celebrate his victory, but then a disgusting voice came from behind him. "Thanks for all your hard work, baby." After stabbing the leader, Lim Daein said to Lily, "This is what you call the fisherman benefits." And so Lim Daein successfully smashed the stone statue as planned, obtaining 2 legendary treasures, the Guardian bracelets. Not only could they rapidly restore the wearer's condition, they could also consume the wearer's magic to create protective shields. Plus, once worn, the bracelets would turn invisible, unseen by others. Lim Daein generously gave one to Lily. Lily said, "I'm actually wearing the same bracelet as Uncle." A blush appeared on her face that shouldn't belong to someone her age. Then Lim Daein took Lily back into the cave to eliminate the remaining Crimson Snake members. He activated his protective shield to block all bullets while explaining the bracelet's functions to Lily. Not only could it provide protection, but it could be developed for other uses too. After listening, Lily activated her protective shield, then directly hurled the shield at the enemy forces. "This shield can be used for attacks too, right?" Lim Daein's face darkened. How could he get this little girl to stop showing off her talent? In the end, Lily set the entire cave on fire. Lim Daein conveniently packed up all the gold from Crimson Snake's treasury, telling the remaining Crimson Snake members, "Either you turn yourselves in or I'll beat you to death." But when everyone chose to surrender, one man stood still. "I want to follow you, boss. Don't hand me over to the police." Since he had been tricked into joining Crimson Snake and hadn't done much evil, Lim Daein decided to keep him around. Lim Daein had already bought up all the surrounding land, but there was no house yet, so he lay in his hammock right in front of the man and said, "Sleeping in this hammock every day is getting really old. Boss, I can build houses. Leave it to me." Lim Daein called him Pound Cake. "Boss, before I got tricked into Crimson Snake, I worked construction for 3 years, was a chef for 3 years, and did cleaning for 2 years." After trying Pound Cake's cooking, Lim Daein finally agreed to let him work under his supervision for 3 years of reform through labor. Pound Cake was moved to tears, but to prevent him from running away or causing other trouble, Lim Daein sealed his pressure points. For these 3 years, he would lose his sexual function, becoming a eunuch. Only after honestly working for 3 full years would Lim Daein unseal him. 2 days later, Lim Daein brought people to the Black Hound Guild to negotiate a transfer, wanting to sign Wang Guho. He knew that his Black Hound Guild didn't have a single good person. He hid in the back with wide eyes, unable to believe someone would actually want him. The negotiation began, and Wang Guho heard the Black Hound Guild praise him as a rising star and a key talent they were cultivating for the first time. He saw White House Guild's Baek Young-hui smiling as she said, "Of course, we've already prepared the 5 billion transfer fee we agreed on." No, rising star Wang Guho successfully renewed his contract with our guild this morning. According to the new contract, the penalty fee is 10 billion. Baek Young-hui was about to explode upon hearing this. But Lim Daein stood up and said, "We're leaving." He knew the Black Hound Guild had set a trap, wanting to provoke the White House Guild into causing trouble here. Wang Guho, Looks like they don't take you seriously either. You might as well stay here and continue being their dog. Everyone, don't let us keep you. Oh, but you should probably visit a hospital first because that little girl just ate expired cake. Lim Daein suddenly stopped and gave the trash-talking man a full swing slap, driving him straight into the floor. Then kicked another silent man out of the room. Weren't you trying to provoke me? Should I keep hitting, or should your boss come out? Also, Wang Guho, you're definitely coming with me today. Wang Guho trembled all over, not from fear, but because the man before him seemed to be doing what he wanted to do, living the life he didn't dare to live. How could someone live so recklessly, so freely? Finally, the Black Hound Guild's representative, Demon King Kim Taejin, arrived on scene. He was one of the original Awakeners, with terrifyingly overwhelming power. Lim Daein told Lily and Baek Young-hwae to leave first, saying he could handle it himself. But Lily asked seriously, "Uncle, should I burn this whole place down?" Lim Daein was exasperated with this future disaster. Why did she always want to burn everything at the slightest disagreement? From now on, you can't play with fire without my permission, understand? After everyone left, Kim Taejin actually released his pressure and smiled. Kid, how about working under me? You don't need to leave your guild, just provide me with information regularly. So this is why you went to such lengths to provoke me? What if I refuse? Refuse? I'll personally break one of your legs right here. At this moment, outside the Black Hound Guild building, White House Guild Chairman Baek Chang-soo was shouting from outside. Kim Taejin, you bastard! If you don't let Lim Daein out, I'll tear down your guild building. Beat you into dog shit. I'm counting to 1. If you don't come out, I'm charging in. 1. But then, Lim Daein appeared behind him. Chairman, what are you doing? How did you get out? Weren't you imprisoned by those dogs? Want to know how I got out?